In this chapter, Kai-hoon brought his blade down in a decisive arc, finishing off the orc before him. As the clash wore on, he began to sense something strange. The battle was growing easier. The high orcs were taking wounds too subtle for most of the hunters to notice, shallow slashes that never drew attention, yet were precise enough to tilt the flow of combat. The tide was turning. It was Hunter Sung. Hidden from sight, he moved through the battlefield using stealth, carving openings for the others. A pair of orcs managed to sense his presence, but before they could react, they were cut down where they stood. Slowly, decisively, the hunters began to gain ground. Jinwoo felt the familiar surge within him. He had leveled up, even without standing at the forefront, even while supporting the party from the shadows. Growth was still possible. At last, the battle ended. The hunters stood there in stunned silence, scarcely believing they had survived. While a few of them argued in hushed voices about how they had managed to win, one of the mages kept her eyes on Jinwoo. As a spellcaster, she could tell. That had been stealth magic at work. Jinwoo had been the unseen hand guiding the fight. Still, she chose to keep her realization to herself. Another mage approached Kai-hoon and reported what she had witnessed earlier, an orc torn apart while suspended in midair. The group turned toward Gina, but she shook her head at once. That kind of feat was far beyond her abilities. She admitted she could barely restrain the orcs with telekinesis, and no one in their team was capable of curse magic. The mage who had noticed Jinwoo quietly intervened, suggesting it must have been the work of an outsider. Kai-hoon agreed. Toward the end of the fight, several orcs had behaved strangely, almost as if weakened by something unseen. Finishing them off had been far easier than it should have been. The hunters then turned their attention back to Kai-hoon, asking for his decision. Should they continue the raid or withdraw after encountering monsters of such a level? One hunter placed a hand on his shoulder and gently urged him to retreat. Clearing this dungeon would require far stronger forces. It was Kai-hoon's first mission as raid captain. Successfully completing it would have secured his position permanently. The choice weighed heavily on him, but reason won out over ambition. He ordered a retreat. Relief washed over the team. When they reached the gate, they froze. A magic barrier sealed it completely. Faced with a spell of such strength, it became painfully clear that retreat had been the right decision. The mages immediately began attempting to dispel the barrier. Then a dark chill swept through the dungeon. Every hunter felt it. "Oh my God," someone whispered. "That's the boss of this dungeon." The mages pushed themselves harder, desperately trying to break the spell. In the next instant, all of them spat out blood. It was curse magic, targeting only the mages. As the tank turned toward Kai-hoon, calling his name in alarm, what he saw next defied comprehension. If you want to find out what happens next, subscribe to the narrator and stay with the story.